Hi guys, welcome to another video. Today we finally finished this project with some easy non-metallic metal and cloak. So first of all, sorry for the lack of content over these past few weeks, but the summer hit me hard, and it is quite difficult to do anything during the heat waves. Plus summer is always a bad time for the hobby, as there is so much more to do. But all of that seems to be over, so it is time to get back into regular schedule. But there is one more thing that kept me quite occupied. I know it is quite controversial these days, but I really enjoy the 10th edition of 40k. So most of my hobby time for the last 2 months was either playing or making my new Blood Angels army. If you want to see the progress on that, or just watch some other work I do, check out my Instagram. I am also thinking about making some content about it on YouTube. So I might do like an army showcase or a painting time-lapse for some of the models. If you would like to see something like that, just let me know in the comments. Now, back to this fella. As you can see, I started with the cloak, and then proceeded with the armor. I wanted to create this clean look, as this is supposed to be inspired by Tyrael from Diablo. So I went for the clean blue look on the cape, and tried for this easy non-metallic metal for his armor. And even as I did most of the work with an airbrush, the model is so big that with a little control you can get good results without any overspray. The cloak turned up quite good, with a little wet blending and using the sculpted structure for a very soft dry brush. This would be impossible with the standard cloaks on, for example, GW models. But this one has this subtle texture over the cloak, imitating the fabric, and the texture catches the pigment quite nicely. So with a little edge highlight, the cloak is mostly done. The non-metallic metal I went for is super easy, and the results between the dark blue shadows and pure whites on the highlights are quite convincing. Again, I used mostly airbrush for what I thought would be just a sketch, but it actually turned up nicely, so I left it like this, until some refinement with the brush later. The same approach goes for the hand weapon and shield, as you can see in the corner. But at this point I realized something that you must be screaming for me for the last few minutes. I just went too far with the blues without realizing it in the planning stage. And I feel like it is an important lesson. Even if you have some experience and you plan the paint scheme as much as you can, the results still can surprise you, and it just may not work. So in that moment, don't be afraid to go the other direction. Painting should always be a fluid process, not something strictly planned and followed to the letter. Don't be afraid to improvise and to change the process you are comfortable with. And especially don't be afraid to circle around the same steps and palettes you already used. After all, it is just a color. For me, the first thing I try to change is the color of the clothes around his waist. I did not want to introduce completely different part of the spectrum. So I used the same purple I used for the skin. By the way, if you want to see me painting the skin, just check out this video in the corner. And the second thing I added was the trim around the armor plates and the shield. Now, although I wanted to stay clear of the gold, I just needed to break the monochromatic feel of the mini. So I introduced a very simple, very limited non-metallic metal gold. on the trims, following the sketch I created by the airbrush. As my first color, I used this raw sienna as a good base for the gold, but thinking about it now, I should have gone for something in the green part of the spectrum. That, in my opinion, would work quite nicely and would complete that RGB circle in the end. But the basic brown works as well, and lesson learned. I did the same thing on the weapon and also on the shield, so the overall feel moves a little bit further away from the blue part of the spectrum. After that, the rest of the mini is quite simple. I wet blended something into the highlights of the cloth and finished the warhammer with some stippling and washes. But the overall feel is set by the armor, so I just added some more white to the highest highlights to push the highest value even further. Now, where I wanted the contrast is the base. I wanted to create the picture of an angel, spotless in his stature, but standing in the dark and fiery fields of hell. So I painted the base red, and then used a little trick. I used a dried wet wipe, teared it up a little, and covered the base with it. Then I sprayed the whole thing black. The amount of black going through depends on how much you tear the wipe. But with a little practice, you can get a nice coverage over the base with these thin red lines. So it creates the effect of a hot black hellish desert with fire coming through. It is also quite nice way to create a marble basis. So maybe we will cover that in someday in the future. From here, I just highlighted the red with some orange and yellow and gave the base a little dry brush of grey. And then just to finish it, an easy sponge stipple on the skulls. And here are the final results. I learned a lot from this paint job, and I quite like how it turned up. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe for more of my content, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!